Oh, hello. Hello and welcome back to Beaglington-On-Sea. Yes, welcome back to Beaglington-On-Sea, and welcome back to Beaglington Mark III as we're working on it, and we are going to hopefully get some sort of start to the scenics done today, a good chunk. Although I say today this video will take a number of days to film, so if there's any change of clothes, continuity error, that's just because it's happening. I'm filming it as I go along. So today the plan is that I'm going to start with the back corner over here. I'm actually going to be starting further over off camera. I'm going to be working on the basis of the hill in the background because that will allow me to build into the cliff over in the background. So the plan is to have the cliff come down, there'll be a tunnel for the two running lines to go into, a bit like on Beaglington Mark II, and the cliff will come around to the back here and down towards where the signal box is. So that's the plan. Whether that happens or not, I don't know. The idea is get the cardboard done and hopefully the paper mache layers done so we have some sort of basis, and then I can start to ballast down the track coming in and out of the tunnels. That would be done then, they'll be fixed in position and I can work on the rest of them. So that's the plan. Whether that actually happens or not, I don't actually know, but we'll find out. So I've got some trains to run first. I've got the Freightliner 66514, class 66, pulling the container wagons, and I've got the Ruston 88DS number 4 in North British Distillery, pulling the flatbed, the red van, and the Network Southeast Queen Mary. So my idea behind that is it's a sort of an engineering train, so we're going to get those running, and hopefully I won't have any problems. Seriously. Well, it's still going now, so it's fine. I'm going to start off the Ruston, and I'll get a little bit of footage of those going around the layout. And hopefully nothing derails. over there, so I'm going to stop the rust in there. I'm just going to bring it back out and put it back onto the... No, so that didn't work. The mirror decided to derail itself. It does not like being propelled, that one. Oh, that's the wrong controller. Rust in that way. Stop the R66 there. Let me stop that. There, so they're more or less back where they started now. Right, so I'm going to crack on and do some work on the railway. So I think if you join me over here, we can have a look at supporting the hill. Right, so we're actually over here by the incline now, and as you can see, there's sort of a platform bit going on here with the branch. I'm going to move this obviously out of the way to work, but I've got these sort of thin bits of chipboard, and they are going to support the track, and we have to cut these card bits. I've measured out some of the different heights. Basically they're sort of like 1 centimetre, 2.5 to go underneath each piece until we've got a gentle progression up and coming down again further, getting lower. That's very low, Chris, thank you for that. It's almost board height. So we're going to do that and get them all glued in place. That will give support to these, and then when they're covered over with the newspaper, that will give us a nice... You sat on the cardboard I was going to use. Yes. So we're going to cut the things out and support it, and then build that up into the cliff. So where the last bit of wood actually comes down to the level, we're going to start building out up then towards the cliff. So I've got a big box for doing the cliff bit along the back. Does mean I will have to move my big map over that side. It'll have to move higher up. Might try and paint a little bit of blue behind if I can find some paint, just to give it a bit of a sky effect. So I'm going to crack on and yeah, get that supported. Anything interesting outside? Right, so I've cut out some of these supports, and I've got some glue here. It's more of this Bostic stuff. Now, this was a little bit more expensive than Quirks, but not too much. I got it in Quirks in town, like news agents in Kesley. And I've got my different heights here. So this is my 2.5 height, which is for about sort of here-ish in the middle. About the same, but not. So that's kind of to go across there to the back. So I'm just going to run a bead of glue along the bottom of that. Thanks, Bush, but you're kind of stood in the work area. Well, this doesn't stick to you now. Whereas this was 2.5, nearly 3, I think. A little there in that tube, hang on. So we just put some of this. This is the all-purpose adhesive, so it's like just a normal sort of contact adhesive. And it just goes in across there. It doesn't matter if I lose a bit. It'll just be on the surface there. This piece here that's behind it actually has a piece sat on top. I don't know why. Some of the pieces seem to have gone now. I suppose because they were kind of the first pieces that went on. They just kind of got squashed. This piece here that's higher than that, so it was about there-ish. That's a nice long piece, so we can actually tear a bit off of that. Now it's about the right length, so pop a bit of glue onto the bottom of that and find whereabouts it goes onto the hill. Now, because the cat's kind of stood in it a bit, I've kind of lost the level, but I think I should be alright about there. There you go. We're already adding in support. There are some bits of chipboard that I cut for the higher level, just for a bit more strength. This piece here is 2 and a bit. So when we put pressure down on top, you should see that that's about right for there, but too little for there, so it needs to go on this side. Put it in, put it all over my hand, give it a quick rub, it dries or goes away, whatever. Right, now this piece is not one of our mission pieces. The hardest part now is actually getting to the lower sections, which is further on here. So I'll just move the camera so you can see what I'm doing. So obviously this has to come up to the same kind of height as there. And then it's going to be flat by the time it gets down to where the cliff is. And we'll have to build the cliff on top of that going up. But we also have to angle it because of the way that the line comes in from the bottom on this side up. So that's kind of where it needs to be. And we've got, this is a 2 centimetre piece here, and that might be too tall, I'd say. That piece can go somewhere around there. We'll leave that stuck out a bit. That'll give a bit more support there. And then we're kind of looking at about this height. So this piece here, how much is that? That is about just under 2 centimetres. So that should be the next height bit there. That looks good. So I'm going to stick this piece in first. And we're just going to put some glue on the bottom of that. Lift that up and slot it in. And that's that. And then where is the other piece I was looking at? That piece, is it? No, this piece. Not paying attention, Alex. Right, pop that along there like that. Like that, lift it up, and there, and then we have some more. So I'm going to go and I'm going to fill in some more supports there. So I'll show you what it looks like when I've done some more supports. So as you can see, I've added some more supports to the hill, and I will add more as I go, but now it's time to turn attention to the cliff. What I have here is an enormous box, which I'm going to cut up to make the basis of the cliff. Right, so we've got the largest sections of the cardboard cut out, and as you can see, the cliffs are going to dominate the skyline of this area. I want to keep it, fairly high, but obviously the square profile doesn't really work. So if I pop over here again, you can see that on this side, obviously, we're going to be coming down to the entrance to the tunnel, but the hill is also going to be falling away steeply on this side and narrowing down over here. So really, we already want to be coming down to this side. Now this side already has a piece here that I'm going to cut off. That will lead down to the area where the cliff is the tunnel, and it's going to be a very low relief tunnel portal on this side, I imagine, but obviously then it's got to blend into this hill. So if I'm using this point here as, okay, we've come out of the tunnel and I can have a little bit more cardboard, I'll just roll it all there, down to there sort of thing, and have a little bit of hill there, and then you've got kind of the sort of, and move these forward a bit away from that edge, because I can. There'll be more of a transition, kind of, we come down from the cliffs, it'll come out about sort of here-ish, because we're on the straight now, so clearance is not going to be such an issue. The original tunnel portal was supposed to be here, but it's likely now to be sort of maybe further step back because I've got to get this flatter. So basically, when the cliff comes up, it has to be higher than about here for the tunnel portals, and then the cliff will go up that way. And I will trim it, I'll draw along and I will cut it down to be a better shape, a better profile, obviously, more undulating like the cliff should be. The goal is to have enough tunnel, it might be a bit narrow here, that the cat will still be able to sit on top of it. So I'm going to go sort that out. Right, so you can see roughly what it's going to look like. There'll be a very narrow bit round the back corner. But some of my cliff was very narrow in the second iteration of Beaglington, so I'm hoping that that's going to be right. So I'm just going to stick those down now. And that's the start of the cliffs gluing in. So we'll leave those to dry and then see what I can get on with after they've actually set in place. As you can see, there's the wall behind. I might paint a bit of sky blue on the wall, just, you know, I've got a border piece for now, before I do any more with it, because obviously I can cover up the rest of the hill once I've got that, but it's going to be very difficult not to get paint on it if I've got, you know, if I'm doing it right above the level of that. So hopefully this all glues in place like that, and that gives me the perfect basis now to build the rest of the cliff. Well, that's the plan anyways. Right, I'm going to let that glue dry. Right, so it's another day, and I've made up a little card former. As you can see, that's going to be where the tunnel portals are on the station side of the tunnel. And I'm thinking, because it's quite wide, I'd like to have like a section coming down as well. I'm going to see if I can do, if I can get the brick papers that I printed out before. I think they were from Wordsworth Modern Railways, and print them out and try and make the tunnel portals look quite similar to what I did before. But I don't know if that will be possible. So I've made this, and this just sits kind of where I want the entrance to the tunnel to be. And it's a bit flimsy, but once it's glued in place, it'll hold up quite well, I think. And then I've got another one down the other end for the other end of the tunnel. And now what I'm going to do before I start filling in the rest of the cliff is to build the wall that's going to come around and be the edge of the tunnel, and that will also give me the cliff face that's behind the branch line. So I've got a big long piece of card, and that is going to go somewhere like that, roughly. I think I'll probably do it from the tunnel portal to tunnel portal, and then I can do a bit coming down that way. And obviously at this end there's going to be a section that comes down to here, but this is just the wall of the tunnel basically. And I have to make sure that I can reach my hand in either side to rescue trains when they get inevitably stuck. So that is what we're going to do next. So I'm going to draw a little profile on here, and then I will glue it down onto there and test the clearances, and hopefully all will be fine and dandy. So as you can see, it's quite tight here where the branch line is, and I have marked on where the clearances are, and it is very tight. So I've got a Mark 1 coach, what I'm using at the moment. I did use the Auto Coach before, but yeah, so we're going with the Mark 1 for now, because it's what I have to hand. And you can see it doesn't crash into those bits there. So it's just a case of putting this in and hoping that it doesn't collide with it. Yeah, see? But luckily, because it's corrugated, I can shape it, hopefully, to bend around the curve. So just kind of go like that. And we have the curve started there. And it shouldn't be too difficult to get back, because I've drawn on lines behind where the clearances are for the coach behind. So it's a case of measuring out this as well, making sure it doesn't collide with the pillar there. That seems to be okay there. As you can see, I've got this line here. That is the line I think I want the cliff to take. And then I need to work out the height. So if I just put this across here, this is my ruler, and I'll just point the camera up a bit. We have the back of the cliff there, and we have that there. Now there is a bit of a slope from the back to the front, but obviously the front part needs to be lower. So I've got to decide how much lower I want it to be. Now I'm hoping that I'll be able to have it so that the cat can still kind of climb up if he wants to. And if I turn it to that way, you can see there is a bit of a hill bit going down towards the tunnel portal at the other end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the height of the tunnel portal on that side, just mark it on, and then I'm going to have a similar but slightly shallower climb up from there. And I want it to be lower on this side, and there's going to be a hill bit coming down here as well. And then we just kind of go, right, well, it's going to be a pretty sheer drop to this track here, so I don't want it to be too high up. So I'm going to bring that down there, and it'll give me a sort of slope down from the back to the front. And it means you'll be able to see the grassy area on top. Now the height of the tunnel portals on this end is about there. So we can have it across there like that. And so now I'll cut that out and see how it looks. So I've got the former placed now against the, and I've marked where this part's going to go. You might be able to see the lines just in front of that. And so I've got the former and I've bent it round, and I've got this, which is one of the Your Model Railway Village coaches, which has very protruding steps beneath the doors. And I find that's quite useful for testing the clearances for things like platforms and stuff. I had a lot of problems on the previous Beaglington with it colliding with the platforms. And it sounds dreadful when running this one. I don't know what's wrong with it, but it's very stiff as well. So not a perfect coach by all means, but quite good for testing the clearances there. And it seems to go around fine. I've also got this, is that a Trestrol wagon or something like that? It's a NATO Searchlight wagon. That's got quite a long wheelbase. Or chassis, should I say, because it's on bogies. But yeah, if I can get it to go round, you'll see it goes past fine. So that should be good. I've tested out inside the hill, and that seems to be fine. So I've got my hot glue gun here. Just check, yeah, that's hot enough. And I'll glue it to the wood. Got a spare glue stick there to pop in if I need to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue on the lines, and I'm going to stick this piece on. So we're just going to put a blob of glue there, a blob of glue there, a blob of glue there, and get them all set into it exactly where the lines are, except for the fact the bit at the other end doesn't reach the floor, apparently. So I'm only using the hot glue here because I can cut it off if things go wrong, because it's more three-dimensional than the other glues. You know, you can just cut it off if I need to. So the risk of getting in the way, I've gotten that done there. And if I move this former, I can also glue where the rear of this is. I need my other glue stick now. Put that in there. That in there. And that one there. That should hold that in place now. I can probably curve that in a bit away from the siding, like that. And what I'll do is I'll use that bit of glue. Just ramp up to that bit of glue there. That should hold that in place. And then we can test that now before we do anything else. And just see now. So we've got our difficult coach. And stringy glue, it's fine. It'll come off easily enough. Hot glue. There doesn't seem to be a problem there. And we've got a bit of cardboard there. It's saving me a bit of ballasting as well inside the tunnel, see? I only have to do it in the entrances, and even then you're not going to have to do too much. But I don't want to put the top of the cliff on until I've got the track sort of glued down a little bit, I suppose. Which is why I'm doing part of the hill in this sort of section, even though I'm going to be detailing it scenically. Right, so the foundations. Right. That seems to be fine. So now we've got our big long piece of clip here, and I think the best thing to do would be to run the glue along the bottom of the card and hope it doesn't melt too much. I mean dry too much. I need to stay melted. And then once that's on, I can add more glue to it. So I'm going to go there, and that is pretty good, I'd say. It comes right up to where I have the tunnel portal at the other end. And we're going to test this now with this. There we go. That will be alright. And what I will do is I will have little strips of card attached to the front of this that will give it some 3D-ness, but in relative low relief. And then when it has the newspaper and the white over the top of it, it should look pretty much how I want it to. So that's that done. And I suppose what I should do now is add a little bit more glue around the bottom. So take the glue gun and just run some glue there. Just load up the gun again. Pump it in wherever there's a hole. So that gun needs to warm up a little bit more. So with that done, I can now turn my attention back to the incline. So the former's had time to settle, and what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to add some glue to the formers to attach this wood. So I'm going to go 1 blob, 2 blob, 3 blob, and pop it down there. Alright, so you might be able to see I've put in 3 screws just here to hold this end of the wood down, because I'd be worried that after a while, if I'd have just glued it, it might just ping back up again. But that's done, and now I should be able to glue my former for this side into place, like so. It's going to fit in there, and that back part can be used when I'm actually building the cliff properly. There we go. That's where the tunnel portal is going to be. run some glue along the portal on the other end while I remember. So anyway, the hot glue gun's heating up again, and I'm going to attach some sort of formers to the cliff. So mind your whiskers, Whoopers, because this glue is hot. So I'm just going to apply the glue to the piece of card I got here, and that should allow me to just wedge it in where the end of the tunnel part is from earlier, and that gives me, when I sort of tumble down to there, we kind of have to go maybe a bit further over. Okay, so that's probably the best time to be doing that, because obviously we have to kind of curve down there as well. I don't want it to be completely sheer, so to have some very narrow pieces. Well, I guess that's one way of seeing how robust the tunnel is going to be, isn't it? Especially, I was kind of planning on trying to, keep the cliff looking how it should. So basically, I've got this card forwards. Right then, never mind. Anyways, and I can just cut in some slight undulations to them so they're not completely flat. And then when I'm putting the card, the newspaper over them, they'll look a bit more natural. So we're just gonna, like I said, run the glue along there like that, on the bottom, and put that in, say, where that's gonna meet. There. And there we go. And so I'm going to take another one and just kind of trim the top from the very top down, and kind of go like that, and kind of trim off some of the excess, and we just kind of waviness. Like if you've ever been to Dover or anywhere with cliffs really, you can see that they're not always completely sheer. There are undulations in them, and okay, it's not the same as being able to sort of do a proper former and do like mod rock and stuff, but this is, a cheap and cheerful way to get the desired effect. So that one can go there. Let's see, it's a bit narrow there, but that'll be all right. It's kind of sticking out a bit from the wall there. It has to be quite flat going in that way to get around the buildings that we have. So all in all, it should kind of turn out all right. This is a slightly thick one. I measured out, they're about 2 centimetres wide each. Is generally how big I need them. But the piece of card I've cut them out from isn't necessarily the tallest piece. So for instance, I can put the piece here. If I mark there, that's how high that's going to be, and then mark my curve down. And we take in a scoop in, a scoop out, a scoop in and a scoop out, kind of wavy kind of pattern. And then once again put the glue on like so. Let's get stuck to the gun. And the great thing about using hot glue is that it generally dries quite quickly when you're not throwing your little thing onto the floor. So where did we say that was? That was about there-ish, is it? Yeah. There we go. See? There we are. That works quite well. And we'll glue to the side there, and then you're adding in the rigidity to the back piece as well, holding it in place. So I've done about 4 pieces there. And I'm going to crack on and do the rest of those and come back to you when I've actually done them, because otherwise we'll be here for probably quite a while. So that's glued now. I'm just going to test that this track is fine by running some things over the section. No trouble there. Move it down the hill. Question is, will something make it up when it's held down to there? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a track pin and see. There's one. There we are. Now, it just occurred to me that I probably should have paper mache the hill before fixing those down. But it's not really going to be a problem because I'm going to have, like, the hill is going to come out in the way of this, the track bed bit itself. Here, this section will have just ballast on it anyway, so it won't be too much of a problem. And then I can do newspaper from the edge of here upwards anyways, it should be fine. Because in order to do the work, I have to fix the track down in here. So it's a bit like you can't do one without the other, and you can't do the other one the other way around. So at least that's fixed down now, and I can glue the track in place inside the tunnel. Right, I did a little bit of further testing while I was getting my glue ready, and decided that actually it was better to have a little bit of extra ramping up, because it was just getting too steep going on to the start of the incline. But it seems to work fine now. So I'm just going to do like 2 spots of hot glue over in the background there. Just either side of some of the track, just to kind of fix it in place. Nothing major. That should hold it in place, even when you've got the Lima Class 50 trying to tear the track up as it goes around. So I think that should be alright. So now it's time to give some structure to the cardboard ball here, and I've got some cutouts. I'm not going to do all of them on camera because there will be quite a lot, but I've cut them to some profiles that I think will fit quite well. So I've got my glue gun here, and I'm going to squeeze a bit of hot glue onto this cliff piece, and that's going to go on the corner of there before the bit that comes down, and the ridiculously annoying coach is not clashing with it, so that's a good sign. But the cliff is kind of low down there, so I'm just adding in some shorter lengths of cardboard, and they're just going to go straight in there like that. So what I'll end up with is a whole bunch of these little bits sticking out that will form the undulations in the rock. Oh dear. Right, anyways, I'm going to get on and do the rest of these cardboard pieces. Right, we're going to have a bit of a tidy up, but as you can see, we've now got the... So if you'll excuse the very messy work area now, you can now see I've got this section by the tunnel which sort of frames in where the tunnel portal is going to be, and a lot of this can be packed in with scrunched up newspaper, and you've got the kind of the profile of the cliff coming up, and the next thing to do, I suppose, will be to do over the top of it, but we can check the clearances now, and we don't seem to have too much of an issue there. So that's a step in the right direction, I think. Right, so I think what I'll do is I'll have to ballast the inside of the tunnel before I do the rest of the work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the board grey where the track bed will be, where you will see in when I'm filming, if I'm doing the shots of things coming in and out of the tunnel, although it will be dark in there, and I might have walls put outside of where this grey is with brick papers or something on. I want to make it look like the inside of a tunnel should do, so I can ballast the track. Before I do that, I'm just going to paint this grey in the areas where I won't have as much ballast. Now, as the paint dries, I'm going to get on and start with the ballasting, and hope that I don't cause too much of a mess in the meantime. The first bit of ballast now going onto the new Beaglington, and I've got my bag here of ballast. And I'm going to start with the tunnel mouth area, and I'm just going to sprinkle it along the rails there. Right, that'll do, because anything else I can do afterwards, it's just that bit there, the entrance to the tunnel, that we're concerned about. So with the ballast in the track, I'm going to give it a light misting of water, and that will help the PVA and water mix seep into all of the pieces we want it to, places. And then I have a syringe, which I will use to apply a 50-50 mix of PVA and water with a drop of washing up liquid to break the surface tension. That also means it will hopefully flow out better into the places we want it to, and hopefully the glue will be strong enough to hold the ballast. But we can't see very well past my arm. Right, I'd say that looks like a good coverage. Probably start on the other end of the tunnel. And that should be a sufficient covering of PVA and water, that's section 2. So now I can get on and start on the top of the cliff. Right, so the plan here is I've got this big piece of card which I'm going to glue in, and basically the hill will come up and then down slightly to this sort of level area. There'll be a slight sort of rise bit up here, and then another sort of ledge up here, and then it'll kind of rise up again towards the other tunnel portal, because this will give a nice strong flat area as well for the cat if he's going to climb up and sit on it. So there won't be much scenery here. The pillbox that I have will be on the sort of the corner of the rise over here overlooking the tunnel. So that's the plan anyway. So I'm going to glue it in now, and then hopefully I can work over that. So I'm going to just add some hot glue to the back of that. Just chuck another stick in there. And this will hopefully also help strengthen the back of the cliff, because it will just be another big bit of card stuck to it. So that is going to go in behind there, like that. And then we can add a bit of glue along the front of it. That at the other end, I've got some card formers, which I'm just going to stick to the bit of card that I've got above the tunnel, and that should keep it in position. So that's leading up to the rise. Right, so I believe the ballast might be kind of dry now. Can we leave it a bit? So as you can see, I've left space in front of these bits so that I can fit my tunnel portal on the front of that, and I can tidy it up with some neat PVA, and that should stop. Like, as if I use watery PVA, that'll damage the brick papers that I plan to use. But we'll see now, anyways, whether the trains can actually go through the tunnel and there isn't anything on the track to stop them. So I'm going to be using the Hornby Thomas & Friends bill, because it's quite large, to test out. So I'll do the inside line first. Oh, why is that running? I'll close that. Okay, now we've got nothing. There we go. There we go. On the other line. What do you think? Well, that's about it for the scenic walk we're going to get done for this episode. So I'm going to run some trains, and I've got 45156 Ayrshire Yemen with a train of Blood and Custard Mark 1s, and I've got my BRB12 61520 on some Blood and Custard Carresseries to match the Mark 1s, and just fix that station there because it's got a bit skewy. And so I'm going to run those now anyways, and get some footage of them going around the railway. Where's that going? There we go. Right. Hopefully get some nice shots of them going in and out of the tunnel. Yeah, that's of course. Let's go see some trains going around the railway. Right, well that's about all we've got time for in this episode of Beaglington-On-Sea, so I'll just stop the black 5 in the station and I'll just run the 0F back so the passengers can get off their train again. There we are, going to the station there. Right, well, the cliff is taking shape, the tunnel is there, and we've got some ballast down, so it's a good place to leave, I think. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you to everyone who subscribes. I'm now just over 350, which is, to me is still amazing. Thank you to everyone who likes, comments, and shares, and subscribes, and we'll see you again for another episode of Beaglington-On-Sea soon. So for now, well, I'm off to go and probably shred some newspaper. Ta-ra. Oh, and don't forget there's also the subscribe bubble and playlist thing. Bye.